Sometimes, the people you trust the most are the ones who break you the hardest. This is the story of Lena. Lena, a 16-year-old girl who had built her whole world in a small town she loved dearly. From childhood adventures to late-night talks with her closest friends, Lena had found her second family, a true sisterhood. But life has its twists. When her mother landed a new job in a different city, offering a better life and safer environment, Lena knew they had to move. She loved her mother deeply, yet deep down she felt heartbroken, torn away from everything she knew and cherished. As they boarded the train to their new life, Lena sat beside a boy who barely acknowledged her. At first, she thought he was rude, until she realized his ears were plugged with music. Little did Lena know, this silent boy, Eddie, would soon become a bigger part of her story than she could imagine. As they boarded the train to their new life, Lena sat beside a boy who barely acknowledged her. At first, she thought he was rude, until she realized his ears were plugged with music. Little did Lena know, this silent boy, Eddie, would soon become a bigger part of her story than she could imagine. Asterisk. Arriving at the new city, Lena was struck by the beauty of their new home, bigger, brighter, better than their old house. For the first time in weeks, hope flickered inside her. Maybe, she thought, this won't be so bad after all. The next day, she set out to get her school supplies. At the store, she saw groups of girls laughing and chatting, but as the new girl, her attempts to make friends were met with cold shoulders. Except for one, a bubbly, friendly girl named Christy. Christy came right up to her, brushing off the others as stuck up, and introduced herself warmly. As fate would have it, they were even going to the same school. For Lena, it felt like a small light in a dark tunnel. She smiled, relieved. She finally had someone on her side. Or so she thought. The next morning, Lena woke up early, nerves buzzing in her chest. It was her first day at her new school, a place that felt so foreign, so unfamiliar. Her mind raced with worries. Would she fit in? Would she find friends? Thankfully, Christy made good on her promise from the shop. She was waiting at the school gates with a bright smile, waving eagerly. "Hey, new girl! Over here!" Christy called. Lena grinned, relieved beyond words. Christy wasn't just friendly. She took Lena under her wing. She introduced her to a few of her friends, a shy girl named Tara, a bubbly boy named Marcus, and a quiet book lover called Jess. "Don't mind the snobs," Christy whispered with a wink. "Stick with us." For the first time since moving, Lena felt a small sense of belonging warming inside her. Just before lunch break ended, while Lena was hurrying down the hallway trying to find her next class, she collided, hard, into someone. Her books flew everywhere. "I'm so sorry," Lena gasped, scrambling to pick them up. When she looked up, her heart skipped a beat. It was Eddie, the same boy from the train. For a moment, they just stared at each other, both surprised. Lena opened her mouth to say something, but the bell rang loudly. She was already late for class. Muttering a quick, "Sorry, I have to run," she dashed off, leaving Eddie standing there amused. Later, when Lena sat with Christy and her new friends during lunch, curiosity got the better of her. She leaned over to Christy and asked, "Hey, that guy I bumped into, Eddie, what's his story?" Christy's face tightened slightly, but she quickly masked it with a casual shrug. "Oh, Eddie, yeah, he's kind of a big deal. Football team captain. Just got out of a messy breakup with Ellie, one of the snobs." What Lena didn't know was that Christy had secretly liked Eddie for years. A truth she kept buried deep, even as she pressed Lena playfully to admit she liked him. Lena only smiled awkwardly. Did she like him? She wasn't sure yet. All she knew was that her new life was about to get much more complicated. That night, Christy was fuming at home. How could the new girl steal Eddie's attention so easily? She had spent all summer trying to win him over, waiting for her chance after Ellie was out of the picture. Now, Lena, sweet, innocent Lena, was ruining everything. Conflicted between kindness and jealousy, Christy couldn't decide whether to continue being nice or turn against her. The next day at lunch, the whole school gasped when Eddie walked past every table and sat right next to Lena. Christy watched, heart sinking as whispers spread like wildfire. Unable to control her emotions, Christy excused herself. ran to the bathroom, and screamed into her hands. Meanwhile, at the table, Eddie shyly asked Lena out. Just a casual date to get to know each other better. Blushing and nervous, Lena said yes, unaware of the storm quietly brewing. After lunch that day, Lena couldn't stop smiling. Eddie, the guy she barely knew but somehow felt connected to, had asked her out on a date, a casual meetup to get to know each other better. Excited and nervous, Lena's first instinct was to call Christy, the only person she trusted in this new city. She dialed quickly after school, pacing her room. "Christy, you won't believe it. Eddie asked me out," Lena gushed, her voice sparkling with excitement. On the other end of the line, Christy froze. 1,000 emotions rushed through her. Anger, jealousy, heartbreak. But she forced a cheerful laugh. "Wow, Lena, that's amazing," she said, masking the bitterness in her voice. When Lena nervously asked for directions to the cafe where Eddie had said they'd meet, Christy seized her chance. Feigning sweetness, she gave Lena completely wrong directions, sending her across town in the opposite direction. "Just take the bus on Green Street, it's super close," Christy said, her voice syrupy. Lena trusted her completely. The next day, Lena dressed carefully, her heart thudding with excitement. She followed Christy's directions, but something felt off. The bus ride stretched longer than it should have. The streets looked different. Confused and anxious, Lena realized, too late, that she was nowhere near the cafe. By the time she finally figured it out and got a cab to the right place, Eddie was gone. She sat outside the empty cafe feeling crushed and humiliated. Tears prickled in her eyes. Had Eddie thought she stood him up? Would he ever want to see her again? Back home, Lena texted Christy a simple thanks for helping, unaware of the betrayal behind the wrong directions. Meanwhile, Christy sat in her room trying to ignore the gnawing guilt twisting inside her. She had gotten what she wanted. Lena missed her chance with Eddie, but somehow, it didn't feel like a victory. It felt hollow. Little did they both know, the consequences of this betrayal were only just beginning. After the disastrous missed date, Lena spent the night torn between embarrassment and sadness. She didn't even know how to face Eddie again. But fate had other plans. The next morning at school, as Lena walked through the hallway with her head low, Eddie spotted her immediately. He called out, catching up to her. "Lena, what happened yesterday?" he asked, concern written all over his face. Lena's voice trembled as she explained the confusing directions and how she ended up in the wrong part of town. Eddie listened carefully, a slow frown forming. It didn't take long for them to piece things together. Someone had sabotaged her. Someone who didn't want her there. Instead of getting angry, Eddie smiled warmly. "It's not your fault. I'm just glad you're okay," he said, his voice steady and sincere. From that moment, a new bond grew between them, one built on trust, honesty, and understanding. They started spending more time together, talking, laughing, and sharing little moments that made the whole school start whispering. To everyone, it was clear. Lena and Eddie were becoming inseparable, but not everyone was happy about it. From across the cafeteria, Christy watched it all unfold, seething inside. She couldn't believe it. Not only had her plan failed, but Lena and Eddie were now closer than ever. The anger she felt wasn't just jealousy anymore, it was also regret. Deep down, she knew she'd pushed away the one true friend she could have had. But instead of owning up immediately, she let bitterness control her. She whispered to others, spread little rumors, and encouraged the silent bullying that Lena soon started noticing. Every time she saw Lena laugh with Eddie, it felt like a slap. Christy had wanted so badly to win Eddie's heart, but her lies had only made her lose her own. And the story was just about to take another dramatic turn. From across the cafeteria, Christy watched it all unfold, seething inside. She couldn't believe it. Not only had her plan failed, but Lena and Eddie were now closer than ever. The anger she felt wasn't just jealousy anymore, it was also regret. Deep down, she knew she'd pushed away the one true friend she could have had. But instead of owning up immediately, she let bitterness control her. She whispered to others, spread little rumors, and encouraged the silent bullying that Lena soon started noticing. Every time she saw Lena laugh with Eddie, it felt like a slap. Christy had wanted so badly to win Eddie's heart, but her lies had only made her lose her own. And the story was just about to take another dramatic turn. At first, Lena tried to ignore the whispers, the side glances, and the accidental bumps in the hallway. She told herself it was just because she was new, and maybe it would pass, but it didn't. The bullying got worse. Notes left in her locker, glares when she entered the cafeteria, silent treatments during class projects. Everywhere she turned, it felt like someone was trying to remind her, "You don't belong here." Eddie noticed too. He saw the way Lena's bright smile started to dim, how she sat quieter at lunch, how she sometimes looked over her shoulder when walking to class. One afternoon, after Lena brushed off yet another cruel comment, Eddie couldn't take it anymore. He confronted Christy after football practice, catching her just as she was leaving with a group of girls. "Why are you doing this?" Eddie demanded, his voice calm but deadly serious. "You think I don't know where this is coming from?" Christy froze. "You're better than this," Eddie continued. "I never gave you a reason to believe there was something between us. Never. Hurting Lena won't change that." The weight of his words crushed Christy's defenses. She realized she hadn't just lost a chance with Eddie. She had become the very kind of person she used to despise. The bully. Bullying leaves scars. Not just on the ones who are targeted, but also on the bullies themselves. Christy had allowed her insecurities to poison her heart. In the end, she gained nothing, only guilt and loneliness. Ashamed, Christy found the courage to apologize to Lena. Tears in her eyes, she admitted she had been wrong, that she had let her jealousy blind her. Lena, with the kindness she always carried, forgave her. But trust, once broken, is not so easily repaired. They went back to being classmates, not friends, and so Lena continued her journey, stronger, wiser, and more careful with who she trusted. In life, we all long for connection, but the people we allow into our hearts must be chosen wisely, because sometimes the ones you trust too soon are the ones who hurt you. If Lena's story touched your heart, you're not alone. We've all trusted too soon, loved too deeply, and sometimes lost more than we ever imagined. But every scar carries a lesson, and every lesson makes us stronger. If you believe in second chances, in growing after pain, and in the power of forgiveness, subscribe to this channel for more true stories that inspire, heal, and make you think. And if you've ever been hurt by someone you trusted, tell us your story in the comments. You never know who you might inspire just by sharing. Until next time, stay strong, stay kind, and remember, your story is just beginning.